Good evening and welcome. I'm Randy Kelly, head of school here at the Montessori Academy, and on behalf of our entire faculty and staff, I'd like to thank you all for joining us here tonight and for sharing in this celebration of our graduates. I just walked up and said to Mr. Poole, this is number 10 for me. I mean, I did a couple others as a parent, but this is 10 in a row in some capacity working here at school, and I asked him how many for him, and he said he stopped counting a while ago. There have been a lot, but they're no less exciting, even after you've been through many of them. You know, as challenging as the last couple of years have been for everyone, for this particular group of graduates, dealing with COVID protocols in their last year at TMA was really the only constant from the year before. Graduates, your 2 years in junior high have been different and probably more challenging than any class that has come before you. You dealt with those 2 years of pandemic protocols and all of the limitations that put on our program. You also dealt with teacher changes, which created curricular adjustments you had to figure out on the fly. And to the people who stepped in, I'd like to wish a very special thank you to Ms. Jamie Russell and Ms. Carrie Dunn for doing such an exceptional job in their new roles. We're so lucky to have you, and you truly have taken junior high to new heights already. Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. And of course, to our Mr. Poole, who is the consummate professional and colleague, and who always steps in to do whatever is asked for him or of him. WWMPD is what I like to say around school. What would Mr. Poole do? That's my mantra. And of course, then also, I'm sure you're thrilled to have me back in the classroom. I'll take that as a yes, I am. So then, along with those things, you also had new challenges when we began to open up. You had to bring back parts of the program that we had put on hold for the pandemic, like Pizza Friday, for example, and you had no experience with it. It was like you were starting it from scratch. Also, a quick shout out to your 7th year colleagues who did a great job bringing that back. So I guess when I think of the class of 2022, the word that comes to mind is adaptability. And yet with all you've had to adapt to, or perhaps because of it, I'm confident that you are more than ready to take on the new opportunities in front of you. And in thinking about the varied and unprecedented situations you've faced over the past 2 years, being able to adapt so well in the face of them really was no small feat. I do hope you had some fun too, though. I'm so pleased that you were able to travel with your class to Washington, D.C. And even though that was hopefully an enjoyable change, it was, again, new to you. It warmed my heart to see pictures of the fun you were having, but also of the reverence you displayed at the monuments and memorials you visited. It was clear to me that you understood their gravity and importance when you were in those places, and you represented yourselves, your families, and TMA with understanding beyond your years. And it truly is appreciated. You've matured into confident and compassionate young adults. I know that you're ready to move on from the relative comfort of TMA to a place that will challenge you to continue to grow as you work to find your own unique place in the world. Class of 2022, you will go on to academic and other successes in high school. For you, actually, that will be the easy part. So perhaps beyond success, challenge yourselves to be significant. It's easy to get lost in the work and pressures of high school, so be sure to make time to take a step back and continue to leave a positive mark on the people and places you encounter, like you've done here at TMA. To the parents of the class of 2022, thank you for the privilege of allowing us to work with your children and for all of your help and support along the way. Maria Montessori suggested long ago that our students are the hope and the promise of humankind. I believe she was right, and in looking at these graduates tonight, I believe we're in good hands. So on behalf of the entire faculty and staff of the Montessori Academy, please join me in congratulating the class of 2022. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to welcome Mr. Justin Dunn, President of our Board of Trustees, to offer some words on behalf of the board.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kelly. Good evening, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Justin. You may know me as Mrs. Dunham's husband, as Maddox's dad, even Baldwin's brother, or that drug dealer that once stabbed you in a grocery store. Pharmacist. For the purpose of tonight, though, I speak on behalf as the president of the TMA Board of Trustees. So when I look at the group of you today that are graduating, the first thing that comes to my mind is blocks. So let me give you a little backstory. And if you look over at my wife right now, she's rolling her eyes. I have a tendency to be a little long-winded, but I promise it won't take more than an hour. So Carrie and I became involved here at the school a couple of years before we even had a kid. My niece and nephew were both pretty young and had both started attending, and my sister became the assistant in the toddler class. And I had seen a couple of works in the classrooms, but mostly I just thought that it was organized chaos for the most part. So one time I was visiting, and it was after we'd been coming here for a little bit, and my niece Ellie had showed me one of her favorite works. It was the binomial cube. For those of you that may be unfamiliar, the binomial cube, it's part of the sensorial area. It has 8 blocks inside, 4 stacked on top of 4. So red one, 2 black ones, and a blue one. So she told me that she had been working hard on trying to master the trinomial cube as well. It was a little bit more complex, but it was harder, had more blocks. I thought it was cool, I guess. I just kind of blew it off and just thought it was a box full of blocks with a fancy name. What I didn't realize at that time, though, was how these simple blocks had represented something a lot more complex than just this. It wasn't until a few years later that I learned that it was a precursor to learning algebra. A squared plus b squared plus 2ab. So physical algebraic concepts that they were being taught to a 4-year-old in a way that they could understand. Most of them just at the time thought that it was a puzzle. I'm sure a lot of you thought the same thing. It was a lot more complex than that. They were actually being taught algebra. I mean, boom, mind blown. I talked to several other teachers, and they showed me how earlier concepts like these built on top of one another. And I really started to see the organized chaos for what it was. Independent, student-led learning that formed whole concepts and blocks of knowledge. Now I know that not all of you are going to be, had started out in the EC building. Some of you had started a little bit later on here at the school, but the key is that these fundamental blocks are not limited to just that little building, that you can acquire these at various different levels, and you have had the opportunity to develop these a lot through your time here. Many of those core concepts, though, are really implemented and really instilled early on. But by the time that you've reached this point at the end of 8th grade, you may not realize that you had this whole big mental container full of these useful blocks. This is blocks of knowledge that goes well beyond a classroom. It's knowledge that you're going to be able to use in real life. The best part is that this container isn't limited to just what you have had here. This container is going to continue to get bigger as you can continue to collect more and more blocks. So just think about all the blocks that you have gained just this school year. You've learned some very advanced mathematics and geometry with Mr. Poole. I mean, really advanced stuff like how many sides there are in a green triangle versus a red triangle. You learned a lot of important things in world history with Mr. Kelly, like when the Egyptians invaded Central America in 1376. I mean, how else would they have pyramids, right? Now you can write a fully formed book on what to do after the apocalypse, thanks to Miss Russell. By the way, I read Divergent as well, and I would have been in abnegation. I know, and pretty lame, but. You even learned how to type 135 words per minute with Mr. Brock. They may not have been real actual words, but you could do them really fast. And then you may not have had Mrs. Dunham for long, but she did help you learn how to hide a dead body. To analyze a crime scene. So you use these blocks of information that you learned earlier in the semester in science lab. The blood typing, the fingerprinting, the tool mark impressions, all of that you were able to learn to build your case and be able to figure out who framed Roger Rabbit. In all seriousness, though, you will find that these blocks have earned your time here, that you've earned here at TMA, will be a strong foundation for your future. You'll start high school, college, adulthood with all this confidence in your head held high, and knowing that these blocks of knowledge will be there to help you all the way. You'll have a stronger foundation for learning. You're going to have no limitations on how much that you can learn. And you will have developed critical thinking skills and the ability to think outside the block. Your dignity, respect, and pride for yourself and others will prove very useful as you navigate the uncertainties in the world. But above all else, be kind, be curious, and be grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dunham. It is now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for the night. Blake Barker is a 2018 graduate of the Montessori Academy. From TMA, Blake went on to Penn High School, where he was accepted into the Early College Academy in 2019. He graduated from Penn High School class of 2022 just last night with high honors, cum laude, with over 26 college credit hours. Blake was a student athlete at Penn as well and was awarded the Distinguished Athlete Award by the United States Marine Corps for displaying courage, poise, self-confidence, and leadership as a student athlete. Blake was featured by WHME TV 46 Sports as the Penn High School Student of the Week. And he received a national honor for superior academic achievement by the National Society of High School Scholars. He participated in both varsity basketball and track and field, and was an NIC sectional, regional, and state champion his junior and senior years. Blake participated in many community service activities while at Penn, and he was selected to receive their prestigious award for academic excellence. Blake also received academic scholarships to attend many schools, including the Hoosier Scholar Award, Hudson and Holland Scholarship, providing full tuition scholarship to IU, but he chose not to accept it, and was awarded the Presidential Scholarship to attend Nova Southeastern in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and was accepted into Nova's dual admission program, where he'll be studying dentistry. Please help me welcome the underachieving Mr. Blake Barker.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly, for the generous introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. I think I remember 4 years ago being on this exact same stage for my 8th grade graduation, and it's unbelievable to think about how much I've done since then. I remember being all the way down in the EC building ages ago, and how nervous and scared I was to graduate kindergarten. There were legends about the big kid building, about how much harder the work was, how much meaner the teachers were, and how much bigger the kids were. I was so scared that I told my mom that I wanted to stay in kindergarten forever. I mean, if only, right? Stay a kid forever. I mean, but we all know that's not possible, so I moved on to the 1st grade. I had the same friends as before. I made some new friends. The work there, it was perfect for me, and Mrs. Reynolds, my teacher, she was nicer than I ever could have imagined. I'm so grateful for all that she's done for me. I made some of the happiest memories now, back when I was in 1st to 3rd grade, but yet again, it was time to move on up to 4th grade. The rumors were just the same as before, and so was my fear of having to move on to something new. I was terrified because I didn't want school to get harder or worse, especially after the great years I just experienced. I didn't want the fun to stop, and I didn't want to change. But yet again, life kept moving forward, and I went on to fourth grade. I met Mrs. Muff and Mr. Jim, two teachers that will go down as some of the greatest ever in my book. Mrs. Muff treated me like and the rest of my classmates like her own children, making sure we got our work done, but also making us feel important, confident, and capable of our own abilities. I think I mistakenly called her mom in class more than once, if not once a week. So if that tells you anything. And then there's Mr. Jim. He was the person who taught me how to read by taking me out of class patiently and reading with me until I was able to read on my own. I've learned and gained a great deal from these teachers, and I appreciate the time and effort they put into me. Now, at this time, I've just finished sixth grade, and it's time to move on to seventh. Was I scared? Maybe a little, but by this time, I had learned that there's nothing I can do to stop myself from moving forward. No matter how scared I was, I couldn't do anything to stop change. So I stopped being afraid. Granted, I could never stop being nervous, but with this, I moved on to the seventh grade with an open mind, expecting the worst, but hoping for the best. It was here I met Mr. Kelly. He was the head teacher for junior high, and may I say he did not disappoint. Seventh grade with Mr. Kelly was fantastic, doing more challenging work, having seminars in class, and having a healthy amount of responsibility. And now, seventh grade wasn't perfect, as I remember the one time in class, I was listening to Justin Bieber on the school computer and forgot to plug my headphones in all the way. Let's just say Mr. Kelly was not a Bieber fan that day, as Justin kept calling him a baby in the workplace. So, but even with this experience, I wouldn't change a thing about having class with Mr. Kelly seventh grade year. Now, in between seventh and eighth grade, Mr. Kelly got the big promotion to the head of school. That meant he would no longer be teaching junior high. I was pretty sad and disappointed about this. However, my eighth grade year was far from disappointing. Mr. Kelly's replacement was Chasten Buttigieg. These teachers were completely different, but both excellent nonetheless. I remember my eighth grade class's trip to Anaheim, California for our kindness tour and learning so much about the world around us and to really take a look at ourselves and be kind to others. I'm so blessed and lucky to have had these teachers. Now it was time for possibly the scariest change of all, going to high school. I was so scared because my classmates and I weren't going to the same high school, so I was basically going there all alone. I was scared that the classrooms would be dark and empty when I envisioned them in my, own imagination. I was scared that the teachers wouldn't be the same as the teachers that I had here. But I'm here to tell you that my transition was not bad at all. Did I go into school having friends? No. But by the end of my first year, did I make so many great friends that stuck with me all the way until I just graduated a few nights ago? Definitely. Were the classrooms scary? No, not really. The classrooms weren't as fantastic as the ones we have here. I mean, they're just rooms with lots of tables, chairs, and students. Working lights, of course, they're not very dark. Were the teachers fantastic? Sometimes. Everybody tries their best. I mean, teachers are just other people, and they're not just teachers. And that's something you guys need to remember, that teachers are always just trying to do their best, and they're still people. So it's okay to go talk to them and to be reasonable. One piece of advice that I'd like to give you eighth graders is to be nice and friendly, but most importantly, be confident. You all have an advantage over the majority of people your age, being just from attending school here. Montessori gave me such a head start academically to where I didn't really have to struggle with my classes as long as I put in the time and effort into my homework. Now, there's no such thing as perfection in life, and there will be bad times in high school that are challenging and everything like that. But what you need to remember is that you are just as important as everyone else. I've had incidences in high school where my teachers were not very nice, and when I tried to talk to them, they were rude and disrespectful. But my mother, she talked to me and taught me that it's okay to stand up for myself and to demand the same level of respect that I was expected to give everyone else. As long as you guys try your best to be the nicest, most respectful people you can be, while also not taking disrespect from anyone else, you will have no issues making quality friends, having good relationships with your teachers, and having a good high school experience. I also recommend getting involved in some sort of extracurricular. Personally, I've always loved sports and athletics, so I joined the basketball and track team. This involvement made me feel a greater connection to my school and to my classmates. There are so many different opportunities that are available, such as clubs, sports, academic teams, etc., that I don't think it will be difficult for you guys to find something that feels right for you and that makes you feel like a member of your school. And if there is something that you want to do and there's not a club for it already, there are many opportunities to start your own clubs and to make something new for yourself. Now, I'd like to finish with a story about planes. Yes, they relate, I promise, it's okay. Now, for those of you that don't know, I get really bad motion sickness on plane rides were just the worst. This made me absolutely dread plane rides and traveling, and let's just say fear, nervousness, and nausea do not pair well when you're shooting across the sky miles above the ground, but anyways. Despite this, I will always take a plane flight, no matter how sick and scared I become, because I know that landing at the destination will always be worth the journey. Now, 8th graders, it's time for you guys to get on your flight. It's okay to be scared and nervous and worried about where you're going to land. However, you should know that wherever you will land safely. Thank you.
Thank you. I remember about 5 years ago gushing to Mr. Poole about what an amazing teacher he is and how mentally strong he must be to work so closely every single day, all day, with the junior high. Something I could never do. Now, don't get me wrong. I loved the junior high students at the time. I knew them all well and worked with them all the time. However, I was in the library all day, not in the classroom, and it seemed to me like it was harder to get the junior high students excited. Well, this year I got to work in the classroom, and I will say that I was completely, utterly wrong. They are excited all the time. From the moment they walk through the classroom door in the morning, they are ready to talk about TV shows and sports and their siblings and their pets and their dreams, but also how long they worked on homework, how confused they were on their history assignments, how much they loved or hated a book character, for Peter, Finnick, Tris, and how much they were looking forward that day to working on math, right? Not at all. But seriously, both the 7th and 8th years have been so friendly and engaged this entire year that it has made my job a pleasure. I'm not going to embarrass the individual 8th graders, even though I thought about it. But I do just want to say thank you to parents, thank you to my coworkers, fellow staff, and fellow teachers, and all the students at TMA, and my junior high students, and especially the 8th grade class. I'm going to miss you so very much next year, but have a great year at your new schools, and congratulations.
Put up medium. Just lift this up here. It's okay. I just want to say thank you really to Miss Russell. I don't think any of us really understand what a large undertaking she took on. And I just personally just want to say thank you because you did a beautiful job. Thank you. And then also, I don't think the other teachers get enough credit for these junior high students. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm amazed at the kids when they get to junior high. And when I look at upper L and lower L and even preschool teachers, you guys really have done a tremendous job in building these young students up. And I really appreciate that, because when they get to me, all we're trying to do is put on the finishing touches. But I say that because sometimes the junior high students, they come to junior high, but they forget why we are really doing what we do. I really don't care if you understand a quadratic equation. It's okay, I'm not going to give you a test. But what I do care about is that when you leave from here, you have the tools necessary to be successful. And that's why I love that speech that Blake Barker gave us a few moments ago. You guys all have the tools. Now you have to use them. We want you to use your tools to make the world a better place, to respect other people, to problem solve, to think outside the box. I love that. And to go into a world that is really changing, not so much for the positive, but it needs people like you to come in and say, hey, we can change this. We can make the world a better place. I'm going to tell you a quick story, and then I'll take my seat. But when I started a program about 30 years ago, when I first got into education, they told me a story that they were building prisons for kids who couldn't read in the 3rd grade. And I said to myself, why don't we just teach the kids how to read? And then we don't have to build these prisons. But those are the type of changes that these young people have to make when they go into high school. They have to say, hey, let's make changes that's going to make it better for everyone. And not be afraid, but be confident and believe that you can make those changes. And I think with all these young students here, what they have shown me for these last 2 years, the ones who are 8th graders, is that they didn't let anything stop them from succeeding. And we want them to carry those values on with them when they go into high school and make positive change so we can live in a better world tomorrow. Congratulations, guys.
So every year I ask Mr. Poole if he'd like to speak, and he always tells me no. Last year, I remember I just had a flash, glancing over at him and saying, do you want to come up? And I got the classic Mr. Poole. That's his comment. And the students wanted him to speak tonight. So when they asked, he got up and spoke. Well, now you're going to every year, Mr. Poole. And now the reason we're all here tonight. It's time to hear from our graduates.
Hello, my name is Gabe, and welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. Let's get started. So I don't remember a lot from kindergarten, but probably one of the only things I do remember are my teachers, Miss Shelley and Miss Rockefeller. They were the best. One of my memories from them is when they were teaching the class how to take books back from the library. They always had a way of making stuff really fun. Then it was time to start lower L. I was in Miss Reynolds' class and Miss Sonia's class. I remember being really nervous on the first day of school. I was crying because I was so nervous. Then I met my best friend, Owen. He made it from I was nervous to go to school to where I was excited to go to school. He's still my friend to this day. My favorite work from lower L was dividing fractions, which I was so surprised on how easy it was, but yet it was one of the last things we do in 3rd grade. One of the things I remember is we had a plastic hamster. I can't remember his name, but the task was to take him to different places and write a story about him. I took him to a Notre Dame football game, and then my mom ended up writing the story for me. I would like to thank Miss Sonia and Miss Reynolds for making it a great year. Then it was time for Upper L. I had Miss Dennis as my 4th grade teacher and Miss Collada for the rest of Upper L. When I was in 4th grade, I was one of the first ones there, and I went to the Cubbies to see them for the first time. It had our names on the front, and I didn't see my friend Owen's cubby, and I asked Miss Dennis if Owen was in this class, and she said he was in Muff's class. I got so nervous after that. He was one of my only friends that still went to the school, and he was in Miss Muff's class, but I didn't realize how much I would actually see him throughout the year. I also made other friends. Fourth grade was probably my second favorite year of all time at Montessori. My favorite thing in Upper L was either the stamp game or the spelling test that Miss Foley would give us. Then I would like to thank Miss Collada for always being there for me when I needed it the most, and for being a great teacher. And to Miss Foley, I would like to thank her for being really kind to me, and she would go out of her way to do things for me. And to Miss Muff, I would like to thank Miss Muff for keeping the boys in line and giving us the best Halloween candy. Now it is time for junior high. In junior high, I went into junior high with my only friends, Henry and Cooper. For the first week of school on 7th grade, I didn't think I was going to like it, but it turned out to be my favorite year here. With the combination of your friends and the best teachers ever, I just all around loved every subject in class. Also, the Washington trip was the favorite trip I've ever been on, and my favorite thing there was probably the Arlington Cemetery. It was really cool seeing JFK's grave. I would like to thank Mr. Poole, because all the things I know about basketball and math, I wouldn't know without you. And I would also like to thank Miss Kate for giving me an awesome cat and always playing the best music in class. I would also like to thank Mr. Berdine for taking his time out of his day to play basketball with me every day, and to Mr. Kelly for being a great influence on my whole life, and also to my parents for making this all possible. I love you guys so much, and thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Alyssa, and this speech is one of the very few things that I have not procrastinated on this year. In my defense, this year has been a bit busy. I'd like to start off by giving my thanks to everyone here at TMA, but I'd like to specifically thank Miss Russell and Zoe's bestie, Mr. Poole, for making my education at TMA worthwhile and for being able to handle us even if we are a bit obnoxious at times. Miss Dunham for helping me learn to love science and for the amazing class that she set up for us recently. And my friends like Zoe, Gabe, Emerson, Ethan, Kylie, Malak, Lily, Lillian, and obviously many, many more for making it so easy for me to come to school. I'd also like to thank some past students from TMA, even if they aren't here, like Sean, Julia, Mason, and Cooper for making the majority of my time at TMA so much brighter. I'd also like to thank Mr. Kelly as well for helping us through all of this year and for giving us the opportunities that we got this year. And obviously my parents and family members for everything. From the second I walked in and took a tour of the school, I knew I liked it and that it was a good option. But it wasn't until I shadowed Miss Movaletto's classroom that I knew that this is where I wanted to go. She was funny, and even though people told me she wouldn't bite, I definitely thought she would. I was only supposed to shadow for half a day, but I begged to stay a whole day because of how much I loved it here. My begging did not work. My mom kind of had to drag me to the car. It's fine. In my first year here, 5th grade, it was like a shock coming from public school. This school was nothing like any standard school that I had been to. I remember being really nervous, but everyone made me feel really welcome here. And even though I joined a bit later than everyone else, no one ever made me feel like I was less a part of a family. Miss Muff has made my years at this school so much more colorful and helped me through a lot. Coming to a new school was really nerve-wracking and hard for me, but Miss Muff made it easier. Throughout my years here, Miss Muffaletto has always been there for me, even in my years in junior high, which I would like to thank her for. I would also like to thank Mr. Pierogi and Emerson for helping me perform surgery on him, not once, but twice. Our futures as surgeons are looking great. As I'm leaving this school, my impression has changed in some ways, but is the same in many ways. This school is amazing and has given me so many opportunities. All of the teachers have put in so much effort for us students, and I couldn't be any more thankful. And I'm so glad that Miss Russell stepped up when the junior high classroom needed her. She's always understanding and is always letting us express ourselves. Throughout my years here, I've experienced things that I probably wouldn't have been able to get at any other school, like our trip to Washington, D.C., the creation of the Sky Gods, running a decently successful coffee business, volunteering at Northwoods, and being the wife to a rock named Fernello. This school has probably been one of the best things that could have happened to me in my education, and I could not thank you all enough for everything. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the rest of the speeches, or don't. I can't really tell you what to do.
Hi, my name is Lillian, and I've been at this school since kindergarten. In the past 9 years, I've learned a lot from social skills to academic skills. The school has given me a lot of enriching experiences, like going on the junior high class trip to Washington, D.C., where we got to see a lot of historical buildings, monuments, and museums, as well as giving us a lot of amazing memories. I also have gotten a lot of unique opportunities that I probably wouldn't have gotten if I had gone to another school, like in upper elementary when we would go to Northwoods Retirement Home and Center for the Homeless to volunteer our time to help others, as well as going to Camp Eberhard and other field trips where some of my favorite memories from TMA were made. This school has given me an amazing education and hopefully prepared me for high school and the next chapter of my life. I give a huge thanks to the teachers and staff who have made my experience at Montessori so wonderful, and made subjects that I usually wouldn't enjoy, like math and science, a lot more fun to learn. I would like to specifically thank a few of my past teachers, even though some of them are no longer here. So thank you to my kindergarten teachers, Mrs. Turner and Mrs. Ragsdale, my lower L teachers, Mrs. Collada and Mrs. Domagray, my upper L teachers, Mrs. Dennis, Mrs. Collada again, and Mrs. Foley, my junior high teachers, Mrs. Kate and Mrs. Russell, and finally Mr. Miller, Mrs. Dunham, Mrs. Jetta, and last but not least, Mr. Poole. They have all made such a positive impact on my life and education. I would also like to thank Ethan, Emerson, Julia, Malak, and Zoe, as well as my other junior high classmates for being such amazing friends and always being there for me. One thing I really like about the school is how strong and welcoming the community is. I remember on my first day of kindergarten, I was so nervous to be coming to a new school without any of my friends, and then Emerson came up to me and said that she liked my necklace and asked if I wanted to be friends. I obviously said yes, and she's been one of my closest friends since that. Another person that I owe a lot of good memories to is Ethan. They are both truly such amazing people, and I don't know what I would do without them. I will miss all of them next year. Lastly, I want to talk about my parents. I honestly can't thank them enough for working so hard to give me the amazing opportunity of coming to the Montessori Academy and always being there to support me through everything. And thank you to Mr. Kelly for being an amazing principal. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Brianna Briscoe, and this is my second and last year at the Montessori Academy. Before I came here, I had been in public school for my entire life up until the 7th grade. When my parents first moved my little sister here, I had no idea what the school would provide. I just wanted to stay remote and talk to my friends from my old school. But one day, when my mom came to pick up my little sister with me, Mr. Kelly persuaded me to do a shadow day. When I came to the school to shadow the class, it was much smaller than my old class by like 300 people. But everyone seemed very nice, and the class was very organized. I thought that the class was going to be very formal, but everyone had a unique type of style and different personality types. If I hadn't come here, I wouldn't have made different relationships with everyone when I started, and I wouldn't have had the highest education. Coming to Montessori taught me so much in what felt like such little time. I had learned how to make a business and how to advertise, make profit, and so much more. I started a business with Annabelle in the 7th grade. We made so much money, Annabelle didn't know what to do with hers, so she would just start throwing her money around. Shout out to Annabelle. Later in that year, Annabelle and I added Kylie. We started to sell so much more things in the last 2 months, and we've made about $300. Kylie and I have been such good friends ever since. Starting at the beginning of 8th grade with even more new faces and seeing the environment, everything seemed at ease. Our class rallied around the struggles we have faced from adapting to a new schedule and the struggle for our class to clean up day to day. But thank goodness for our teacher, Miss Russell, for being our teacher when we were in need. Now I would like to thank some of my teachers that I've had in the past 2 years and how they've impacted me. I would like to start with Mr. Kelly. Thank you for inspiring me to transfer to the Montessori Academy and for making my time here a rewarding experience. I would like to thank Miss Jetta, our music teacher. Thank you so much for teaching me even more to love music and to never stop loving it. Thank you for letting me work with you, the 2nd, 4th, and 5th grade students, for the past few months. I would like to thank Miss Kate, our 7th grade teacher, for being so supportive in the things I've done outside of school, and congratulating me on my sports, and also hearing about my ideas and going along with them. Thank you, Ms. Kate, for not just teaching me, but for teaching our entire 8th grade class different methods of learning and giving us a different perspective in things. Last but certainly not least, I would like to thank Mr. Poole, our math teacher, for always being supportive with my sports as well and helping me have a better understanding in math. Thank you, Mr. Poole, for leading our class and making us laugh every single day with your jokes. And thank you for helping us with anything, whether it's math, a different class, or things outside of school. Thank you, Mr. Poole, for letting us put googly eyes on your head that one time and letting us grade papers for a week. Thank you to the rest of the teachers we've had and who have helped us out. Thank you, Ms. Russell, Mrs. Dunham, and Mr. Brock for coming to the DC trips with our class for the great memories we will share from the week that we were there. I would like to give shout-outs to my little mini friends, Adriana, Karina, and Ava, for always giving me hugs and talking to me and eating my food in aftercare. I would also like to thank my friends Brooke, Kendall, Sophia, Kayla, Mackenzie, Yenna, and Kaden for always making me laugh and being amazing friends. Next, I would like to thank my little sister Alexa. Don't worry, I didn't forget to add you into my speech. But thank you for always being funny and backing me up for everything. Thank you to my classmates for teaching me new things and for the chaotic memories that we will never forget. Like never. I literally do not think they will ever leave our minds. Anyways, I would like to thank Annabelle for just literally being hilarious and being funny and silly. I would like to thank Kylie for always going with the flow with me and taking all of my DC photos. And thank you for the rest of my classmates for making this class 100% unforgettable. Last but certainly not least, I would like to thank my parents for always supporting me with my academics and the things I had going on at school, and to always be on the same page with me for all the things I talked to you guys about. Thank you everyone for coming, and I hope you have an amazing summer and freshman start.
Hi, I'm Emerson, and I've been at the school for 9 years. So far at Montessori, I've been a wedding planner, a maid of honor, a volleyball player, a basketball player, an assistant dance coach, a stagehand, a tree of play, a makeshift tennis player, Violet and Matilda. I've been to 3 weddings, 2 funerals, and many 5th grade plays. Clearly, this school has given me many opportunities. I've also been given many different privileges, such as helping out at Northwood's assisted living facility, going on many different field trips, doing different service projects, and most recently, going to Washington, D.C. I think I can say that Montessori has prepared me for life experiences and being independent. I have had a great experience at Montessori so far. All of my teachers have been great influences on me, and I've made wonderful friends here. One of the things I like most about the school is that everyone is so kind and everyone is friends with each other. The teachers are also very welcoming and very good at their jobs. They helped me to learn all the subjects we study, and they also taught me many different things to succeed. When I first came to Montessori, I was in kindergarten. I just transferred over from a preschool in Elkhart, and my very first memory is becoming friends with one of my closest friends, Lillian. Personally, the way I remember meeting is saying that I liked her necklace, and I asked if she wanted to be friends. I really don't know if this is my first memory at the school, but it was one of the ones that has stuck with me today and will probably be my first memory here for the rest of my life. Throughout my years in Montessori, I've had many different memories, impressions, stories, and experiences. In first grade, I remember being scared to go into the big building because it was so different and new. Luckily, I was welcomed into my classroom by Miss Starmagray and Miss Claudia, and I had a wonderful lower L experience, from cultural presentations to imaginary islands. When I was in third grade and we went to visit Upper L, I remember being absolutely terrified to go up. I remember being really scared to go into Miss Muffaletto's room in particular because the third graders from the year before said that she could be really funny but really scary sometimes. Now that I've been in her class, I know that she's really funny, but she's not scary once you get to know her, even though she says she's a witch. Going into 7th grade was pretty exciting. It was a bit difficult when I was trying to get to know my new teacher, Miss Kate, but I think she had a very positive impact on me, like teaching me how to be a great person and for helping me to grow. I'm thankful that we were still able to have a very fun year. In 8th grade, the year was nowhere near where I imagined it to be. While it started out pretty well, the year turned really crazy really fast. We had many different teachers in the room with us, and our schedule would change every few days. Thankfully, we had wonderful teachers who made the year really fun and turned it around fast. I would especially like to thank Miss Russell for stepping up and taking the job of being our lead teacher and for dealing with us, even when things were kind of crazy. Now that I'm going into high school, I can take the academic and social skills that Montessori has taught me. I'd also like to thank all of my teachers that have taught me and helped me. So thank you to Miss Turner, Miss Claudia, Miss Darmagray, Miss Muffaletto, Mr. Miller, Miss Kate, Miss Russell, Mr. Poole, Miss Dunham, Mr. Brock, Miss Jetta, Mr. Sweeney, Miss Evelyn, and Mr. Kelly. I'd especially like to thank Miss Muff for being a great teacher and Zoe's bestie, Mr. Poole for always putting up with us, and for always helping with math, even if the jail is forcing him to do this as community service. I would like to thank Julia and Alyssa for being great influences and for always making me laugh, Maya for being one of my best friends and for always being up to talk about random books, Izzy and Ethan for being the best cousins I know, and I would like to thank Lillian for being with me throughout every year at Montessori, always being there for me and for keeping me sane for the last 9 years. Along with them, I'd like to thank my whole class for being great friends, my sisters for being the best siblings, and my parents for giving me this opportunity and sending me here and for always being supportive. I love you all so much. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.
Hello, my name is Maya. Thank you for coming to our graduation. I left the TMA community between 5th and 6th grade after 6 years here. I came back 3 days into 8th grade. I would like to start off by saying that 8th grade year was nothing like I imagined it would be. It started off very chaotic, but thanks to our teachers, the year turned out to be really fun. It has been very eventful, and I will leave with many unforgettable memories. It has definitely been a change of pace from my old school, and I have way more freedom than I would have had at my old school. I have definitely learned how to manage my time better than I would have. I'm very happy with the opportunities I've been presented with at this school, one of which being the Washington, D.C. trip. I really enjoyed hanging out with my friends and going to museums, especially the Natural History Museum. I also really enjoyed sharing a room with my friends, Lily and Diana. Lily and I have been friends for the majority of the year. We have completed most of the game Water Gun Fireboy, and we were going to finish the game, but we rage quit. I love hearing the stories she has to tell, and she always has something to talk about. Donna and I have been good friends since the beginning of the year. We used to play volleyball together all the time, which is really fun. We were always trying to break our record. She's really funny and just enjoyable to hang out with in general. I love eating lunch out in the hall with her every day. Some other people I'd like to acknowledge are Emerson for being a great friend over the years. I have a lot of fun going to the beach and talking with you. Malak for being super funny. Kylie for saying funny things that don't make any sense, like there's a shoe in my rock. And Zoe for being a great friend. This year and the rest of the junior high classroom. I would also like to thank my teachers throughout my whole experience here. I can't thank all of you, but I would especially like to thank Miss Russell for stepping up in the middle of the year to be our head teacher. You have made my experience so much better. Miss Dunham for being the best science teacher I've ever had. You have sparked my interest in forensics, and it's definitely something that I'd like to research more in the future. Mr. Poole for being a great math and geometry teacher and dealing with me all year long. I would also like to thank the rest of my teachers this year, like Mr. Brock, Mr. Kelly, Miss Evelyn, Miss Jetta, and Mr. Chapman. When you walk into the classroom, everyone is always excited. Someone is always laughing or talking, so it's never a dull moment. I'm going to miss that because it's not something you would experience at another school. You're probably thinking it's something you would experience at basically any other school, but you would not understand unless you go here that it's not. At other schools, I would not be able to give Miss Muff hugs or rant to Miss Russell about things. I would not get the same hands-on experience talking to teachers and getting the same amount of guidance I've had these past years. Even though the teachers have helped me shape me into the person I am today, I would like to thank my parents for being my biggest support and inspiration for my whole life. You guys have presented me with so many experiences and opportunities, although I may not seem the most grateful for them all the time. I love you, and I can never thank you enough for what you have done for me. I would also like to thank my sister Phoebe for being a really funny person and always keeping me on my toes. As much as I get annoyed with you, you're a great sister. On that note, I would like to thank everybody for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your night.
Hi, my name is Kylie. I've been a student here for the past 3 years. Before I came to this school, I went to a public school. I was surprised by how small the classes are here. I thought these people were crazy. The first time I saw the school, Alyssa was marrying a rock. Emerson was one of the bridesmaids, and I was wondering, who does that? But let me tell you, they definitely started to grow on me. I will admit, I do like this school. I really like the teachers and the students here. The teachers guide you with anything that you need. I would like to thank Miss Russell, Mr. Kelly, Miss Jetta, Miss Kate, Mr. Poole, and the rest of the teachers that helped me get through the years. Most of all, I would like to thank Miss Foley and Miss Collada. They are my teachers from the end of 5th grade to the end of 6th grade. My first week here, Mrs. Dennis was my teacher because Miss Collada had broke her foot. Miss Dennis called me the brand new girl as if I was bought from the store. The second week that I was here, Malak was kind enough to get me 2 family size of the purple bag Doritos. And that had made me feel like I was here my whole life. Since we're all graduating together, I would like to talk about my first impressions of 8th grade. My first impression of Alyssa is that she is weirder than weird. I mean, after all, she married a rock. My first impression of Brianna is that we would be really good friends because we both play volleyball. My first impression of Lillian is that we would be really, really close friends because the first time we talked, we were bonding over tornadoes. My first impression of Annabelle is that she is really scary because she traveled everywhere and knew just a little bit about everywhere. My first impression of Emerson was that she was really smart and that we had to be friends so she could explain to me the things that I didn't understand. And she's still smart to this day. My first impression of Maya is that she was smart and she's still smart. My first impression of Gabe is that he is nice because he has always helped me with my math and geometry when Emerson wasn't there to help me. All of these people are still my classmates and are now graduating here with me tonight. May 9th, 2022, we went on a field trip to Washington, D.C. It was a really fun trip. We went to the White House, and at the White House, there was a lot of other schools, so we had to hurry up and take pictures very quickly. We went to the Washington Monument, and it was a lot taller than I thought, and you could see the 2 different colors of stone. We went to the Lincoln Memorial. If anybody goes there, see if you can find the mistake in the Gettysburg Address. We went to the zoo. At the zoo, we saw pandas, monkeys, lions, beavers, and a lot of other animals. While we were in Washington, we went to the Native American Museum. We saw a Native American headdress. We saw an eagle staff. We seen a lot more interesting things. We went to the Natural History Museum, and there was an ocean exhibit. In the ocean exhibit, we saw a skeleton of a turtle. We saw a giant male squid, and it was from Spain. One of the things that I thought was really, really cool in the ocean exhibit was the eyed flounder because it was see-through, and you can see all of its veins and its eyes, both of its eyes are on one side. Thank you, Mom, Papi, Rai, Jonael, Ariel, and my grandparents for everything that you guys have done to help me get through the year. Oh, and thank you, Di, for being one of my best friends and knowing how to speak Spanish. That way we can talk about people without them really knowing. Thanks for coming here. Have a good rest of the night.
Hello, guys. They save me till dead last, like they do always. Hello, my name is Annabelle Lyons, and I've been attending the Montessori Academy at Edison Lakes for about 2 years now. It's been eventful. For starters, my many phases in 7th grade. Also the fact that I hated Lillian for an entire year, and now we're besties, I think. Anyways, I've made so many memories and amazing friends at this school, from creating a business in 7th grade with Brianna, making so much money I didn't know what to do, so I just started throwing it around, to running around the school hiding 400 mini babies everywhere, classrooms, bathrooms, teacher's lounge, everywhere. Good luck finding them all. All jokes aside, I'm so thankful for the staff and my peers at the school. Mid last year, I was diagnosed with dyslexia and learning disabilities, math and spelling, and ADHD. My teachers are more than helpful with accommodating all of my issues and didn't treat me any different than anybody else. Some of the teachers I would like to specifically thank: Miss Kate, my teacher last year, for being such a cool teacher, for hiding from Gabe and Henry when we were testing because they went to the bathroom. Miss Russell, my writing and literature teacher, for pulling our classroom together after an enormous schedule change last year. Mr. Poole, my math teacher, for always dealing with us and our nonsense, and for being Zoe's best friend. Miss Jetta, my music teacher, for being the coolest teacher I could possibly ask for. And Miss Dunham, my science teacher this year, for making class so fun and teaching us how to hide a dead body. I also would like to thank some of my teachers not at this school. Mrs. Hoddington, my 5th and 6th grade teacher, Miss Beal, my 5th and 6th grade literature teacher, Mrs. Richardson, my 5th and 6th grade math teacher. I thank you for preparing me and giving me the proper skills to enter middle school and for being so patient with me and my friends. I know we were a lot to handle. Next, I would like to thank Adriana Israelite. I know she's going to kill me for mentioning her in my speech. My best friend since 6th grade, whom I very much did not like in 5th grade, but loved in 6th and have ever since. I want to thank you for always being there for me when I was convinced everyone at the school hated me, and for helping me with math even when you would just look up the answers and give them to me. Mostly, I want to thank you for being just like me in basically every way, for letting me steal your personality. These last couple years of my life have been rough because of the pandemic, moving, starting a new school, and not knowing anyone. Here's where I would like to thank my fellow classmates and friends. Because of you, my 7th and 8th grade year was just that much better. Specifically, one of my fellow graduates, Emerson, for always being there and helping me with my work, and for being the funniest person. A 7th year person, Malak, a person who I only met this year, for being so hilarious no matter the situation, and for the Shrek family tree. Whoa. Guys, I lost my place. Brianna, for always carrying the teams in gym because you knew I wouldn't do anything. And I would also like to thank my classmates from last year for forcing me to come back to school when I was staying at home for weeks at a time because I had no interest in doing anything regarding school or schoolwork, and for forming such an amazing idea of the school in my brain, making me change my mind and come back to the school, which I had my heart set on not doing. It's because of you that I will leave the school with lifelong friends and unforgettable memories. I am so grateful I met you all. You don't even understand. Lastly, I want to thank my parents. Obviously, thank you for raising the funniest person ever, me, and for always being there to listen to me rant about my learning disabilities and tumors. I love you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have met some of the greatest friends and wouldn't have made some of the most memorable memories. The school has truly changed my life. Thank you for making sure that happened. Lastly, I want to thank you all for being here at my friend's graduation. It really means so much to all of us. Thank you and good night.
Every year, I just love it. Thank you all so much. That was wonderful. I think it's time, isn't it, to present diplomas. Yeah? You guys ready? Gabe Cousins. How are we doing it? How are we doing it? Alyssa Groen. What are we doing? Anything? Congratulations. Zoe. Lillian Roberts. Brianna Briscoe. Emerson Kim. Maya Leshin. Kylie Crespo. I meant just Kylie. She said just call her Kylie. They had very specific requests. I keep forgetting. This one I remember. A B! Help me congratulate the TMA class of 2022. That concludes our formal presentation. Thank you to Ms. Christy Gauker for putting reception together for us in the back. Obviously, lots of time for pictures and greetings. Thank you all so much for coming tonight.